I'm going to call this meeting to order. Welcome to the August meeting of the Cameron R1 Board of Education. First day of school, good day. From all accounts, smooth. So well done. And we will start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. So everyone knows that.
I pledge allegiance to the Constitution of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The vision of the Cameron R1 School District is to offer an exceptional educational experience. And the mission of the Cameron R1 School District is to educate and empower our students to reach their full potential. The first order of business for our meeting is to have our tax rate hearing. So I will call our tax rate hearing to order at 7:01 p.m. And I'll hand it over to Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. Tax rate hearing, we do it every August at the tax rate. We then turn this over to the county clerks. They send it down to the state auditor's office. Once it's approved, it's sent back, and then that's how the clerks and everybody set your taxes for your tax bill that you usually get in November. So if you look at our, there's a couple different documents in there, but I'll just look at the tax hearing notice first and just kind of go over it. You can look at the differences between 24 and 25. We had about a $12 million increase in assessed evaluation. That does not mean we have 12 million extra dollars. That's just the difference in assessed evaluation. So we went from 160 million roughly to 172 million, almost 173. So around around $12 million on that. If you look down, because we had that $12 million increase and where we're at with CPI, we're not allowed to take all of that extra money. And so we actually end up having to reduce taxes by 7 cents. So, but if you look down here on the 25-26 column, you'll see that our incidental or Fund 1 is 2.9242. Last year that was $3. So that's where that 7 cents less is. We don't put anything in the teacher's fund because we transfer that. And then we have our 99-cent debt service, which that 99-cent debt service is what we told everybody we would keep when we ran our bond issue in April, that the 99 cents was not going to change. We could actually raise that to up to $1.40. We have the capability to do that, but we told everybody we would stay at 99 cents, and that's what I think we need to stay at. So, and then the 35 cents that we put in the capital projects, so that we're able to do some of the little projects around and just kind of keep up with the general maintenance. We put 35 cents away as each levy for that. So if you look at our new tax rate, it's 4.2642 as opposed to last year where it's 4.3487. So it ends up being, like I said, just a little over 7 cents reducing taxes, but it's a reduction. And then all the documentation that goes along with that is there behind it. So you can see on this next document what we receive from every county as far as residential, agricultural, commercial, personal property, and then all those others, new construction. So, and then that 172,963, that is our number. So, and then you can see how that is pretty much verbatim off of every county, and then every county is listed below.
172,963. Sorry.
So the next one you see is from the state auditor, and that's our pro forma. So the state auditor has already preliminary looked at this. We just have to have the tax rate hearing to officially make it set. But they've already looked at it. They already tell us to a sense what we have to start off with, and it's fairly complicated formula. It's about 5 pages of looking at what the state CPI is, where we were at before, where we're at now. But at the same time, it ensures that we get the right tax rate to the county clerk. So, like I said, the tax rate ends up being 7 cents less than that, which overall, when we compare our tax rate to other districts in the Northwest area. The highest rate of debt service, or highest rate of tax rate, is Jefferson School District, C123, that's up in Conception Junction. And you have to go down quite a ways. We'd be about number 40 in Northwest Missouri, slightly above the state average, $4.17. We're at $4.26, but you won't find too many districts below us. And if you look over here at the 2.9242, that has to be a minimum 2.75. So we're just only 20 cents above the state minimum. The state requires you to have a 2.75. And so you have to have $2.75 in your general fund. And like I said, we're just barely 20 cents. In talking with the state auditor, when it comes to looking at levies, things like that, the last time Cameron looked at a levy and actually did a tax increase was 1998. So it's been 27 years, and if we were to, I'm not saying we do something in April, but if we were to do something, it'd be 28 years since Cameron last passed a levy for any type of increase at all, which is pretty, that's really good. I'm guessing there's a lot of other districts on here that cannot say that. They haven't passed a tax increase in 28 years, so. Any questions on the taxes or the tax rate?
So the calculation of the tax rate, that's through the formula that the state puts
State-
all,
Yes.
prescribes the formula.
Yeah, state gives you the formula, and it's all based off of prior year, and with Hancock Amendment and not being able to take too much, that's why we end up with giving back 7 cents, even though we had an increase. We would like to have had that, but they won't let us go over how much the CPI is, Consumer Price Index.
So if I catch this right, the 7 cents we could have added to our debt service, but we're choosing to take that back as a...
You could have added that to your debt service and kept tax rate stagnant, and we could have stayed at the same rate as last year, at the $4.3487. You could have kept that. But like I said, we did go out and tell voters that 99 cents was all we were going to need.
I agree.
And so in 99 cents, we'll keep our debts paid. And so, you know, we get to keep our debts paid and we still get to give a bonus back. It's not much. I know it's more than 7 cents on your taxes, you know, but it is 7 cents.
It is. And, you know, it allows us to keep what we told everybody whenever we ran our bond at the 99 cents, right? I personally I think that that's a win. So.
Yes.
So good job, way to make the numbers work.
We just have to open it up to see if there's anybody that has comments on the tax rate.
Okay. I hear comments on the tax rate.
Go ahead. Okay. So, I don't know if any of you have spent any time in the Cameron Community Forum over the past month or two. Every month when the electricity and water bill come due for Cameron residents, there's somebody in there that's talking about how much more expensive everything has got in our town. There are people, approximately 40% of the people that live in Cameron are at or below the poverty line and are low-income families. So these people are talking about how the increase in everything, the inflation, the cost increase in everything has gone up about 45% in the last 5 years. Our families are having difficulty making ends meet. And while this is a tax rate that's going to go down, the reality of it is that our assessments all went up this year. So although the tax rate is coming down, the amount that's coming out of our pockets to come to the school district has gone up significantly. I forget what the total is on there, but there's a significant increase in the total amount of money that's coming into the district. I understand your costs have gone up too, but our taxpayers are hurting. They're putting food on credit cards because they don't have enough money to get by. And the school district is coming in here to vote tonight for a tax hit. The rate is coming down, but it is a tax increase that the district is voting for because my tax liability is going to go up this year. Everybody's going to go up. That's going to be passed on to all the consumers. That's going to be passed on to the renters, and more than half of the community rents. The rent is going to go up. Their insurance is going to go up. In the 3 years that I've been coming to these meetings now, I have not heard a single time a discussion about forming a committee to look at the budget, to go through the budget for the school district and try to find places where we can cut spending, give the taxpayers some kind of relief. I've never heard it, and I've been to most of your meetings. I've been to this meeting for 3 years now, the one where the tax hearing is discussed. So I'm asking that the board form a committee to include members of the public, both those that are okay with the current spending and people that are upset with how much money the school district is spending. If you look at the tax rate over the last 15 or 20 years, as the tax rate goes up, the grade level proficiency has taken a dive. They're inverse of one another. Why is it that we are spending more money to the school district, but our test scores continue to go down? We're not getting a good return on our investment. Now, as for the committee that I'm asking that you form to look at this, to look for waste, fraud, and abuse in the district, I would ask that you look to, and I pulled this off of the items for consideration for tonight, the budget on expenditures. Under the area for the superintendent, for dues and leadership, or excuse me, dues and membership, from 2022, the district paid $1,286. In 23, it paid $2,373. In 24, the district paid $438,997 for dues and membership. What kind of dues and membership is costing the taxpayer $438,000
The
a year?
$433,000 from that was the assessment fee that we had to pay to insurance last
Mr. Robinson, may I continue, please?
Well, you asked a question, so I'm
Okay,
answering.
you never answer my questions any other day. In the next year, it was $444,216. A few months ago, this board was apoplectic about a cost going out the door of $8,500. I've never heard a discussion about this significant increase.
We actually discussed at 2 different board meetings about the healthcare cost rise. It was brought to us 2 different times, and we discussed it, and you
This-
sat right there.
Yes.
That is healthcare?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So,
We
I
discussed
mean,
this
I'm glad that
publicly.
you picked that one out and brought it up to us, but it was discussed, and you can
That's-
see it on your own videos.
Mr. Robinson did not just say healthcare though. What did you say, Mr. Robinson? It
It was
was?
assessment fee.
Healthcare assessment fee
Healthcare.
for insurance.
Yes, we
Assessment
discussed it,
Okay.
and that's why we have discussed numerous things after that about what the budget looks like.
Okay, my request still stands. Surely, considering every member of the community is having to cut their budgets at home, they're having to find ways to make their dollar go further. Surely the school district is capable of doing the same thing. Because we are all, the community is hurting because of the cost. And it's not your fault. You didn't create the situation. But a 45% inflation in the cost of food, insurance, automobile insurance, the upkeep of automobiles, we all depend on those things. People are having difficulty making ends meet. Surely the school district can find places where they can cut from the budget. I ask that you form a committee and look into these things.
I do want to clarify a statement that was made. This is on real estate, so it's people that own real estate. This is on personal property as well, but if you rent an apartment in town, you don't pay personal property taxes on that, so.
Mr. Gilbert.
They're gonna pass that on to the renter then.
Mr. Gilbert, you finished. Could you please sit down?
No, I didn't say I was done.
Please
She
sit down.
commented, I would like to,
She was making a comment after you finished, and you
Okay.
can have your seat.
they pass that on to the renters.
Please have your seat.
The renter's rent is gonna go
Mr.
up.
Gilbert, thank you.
You are welcome.
Next, ready?
Yes,
Is the floor open? Okay. Okay, I'd like to start with a prayer to the Lord and open meeting. Name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Okay, thanks for allowing me an opportunity to creep around your boardroom. I want to kind of piggyback on what he said. I first saw this notice taped to the front doors here at the central office on the 8th. Friday the 8th is what the date on it. And I happened to be up here for sunshine information. So I kind of got to study it since then, but before that I didn't know anything about this, and I really don't quite understand it all anyway. I mean, as you said, it's complicated. It would be nice if you all would show the community, the public, the respect and maybe have some community engagement meetings to explain this to us. I mean, you know, as he said, I mean, and I have to agree, you know, people have lives and they're trying to make ends meet. How many people knew about this before tonight? Probably not many. If you really care, the way I feel about it, if you really care about us, about your stakeholders, members of the community, the folks that fund the school, then I would think that you all would reach out to us and have a meeting, have some open meetings, questions and answers type of meetings. I don't know what the secrecy is all about. I don't understand why everything's such a darn secret with the school district. It shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. I'd like to also focus on a different aspect of this, and this is our academic achievement.
Mr. Landi, this is a tax rate hearing. Can
Yeah, I
you
understand that.
Stick
I
to the
understand.
taxes, please.
But I am. But don't you think that you all seem to have the impression that if you spend more money, it's going to have a positive outcome on achievement? And it doesn't work that way. We've seen more and more and more money coming into different, not just this district, but statewide. More money doesn't equal a better outcome. And, you know, I would think that we could have community engagement meetings, you know, to try to come up with some ideas on what would improve academic achievement. Obviously,
Tax rates, please.
yes,
Tax
yes.
rates.
Well, it
Talking
takes
about
money,
taxes.
right, to offer after-school tutoring projects, right? It takes money for that. I get it. It takes money for specialized training for students, you know, with IEPs or whatever. So, where there's a will, there's a way. I've said it 100 times, and it's the truth. You all just don't seem to have the will, and it's so disappointing. I can't wait to get on the school board to hopefully have a positive effect on things. Thank you. Oh, any questions before I sit down?
Yes, what would community engagement look like in your eyes for this?
Not quite like.
Just asking because we had it a month ago, so.
I understand. That wasn't my idea of a community engagement meeting.
Okay.
That was a round table. How was I to know?
Did we
when I-
speak?
When I was talking to, so like when I was talking,
Let's stick to tax rates here. We're gonna move
well, he
on.
asked a question, I'm answering the question.
You can take it off.
He asked me what it was like, what we had, right, what you all had in the commons area was not it. As I'm sitting at the table talking about security with Officer Palmer, I don't know what
All
was
right,
being
Mr.
said at
Landi,
the
we're
other
gonna talk
table.
about tax rates. Can you please sit down? We're done talking about community engagement. We'll
I'm
talk about
answering
it
a
later.
freaking question. See, this is
And
the
I'm
problem.
actually trying to keep this on the tax rate. Can we please
I understand
Talk
that.
about taxes.
Okay, I understand that.
Taxes.
Taxes. Math proficiency is like 44%,
Taxes.
right? Reading proficiency
Mr.
is 43%.
Landi, please have a seat. You're not talking about taxes. This is a
I am.
tax rate hearing.
I am. I want to know, as a taxpayer, how you, the board, is going to improve students' academic achievement with the taxes.
Thank you.
I have a couple comments. For the community, I've been on the board since 2019. Every August, we have a tax rate hearing. It's required by law. So, it's been that every year. So I think the community does know it. And I appreciate this year that Dr. Robinson and our staff connected every piece of paper to show the formula that the staff goes through and the numbers that we collect. We work with 4 different counties to collect those numbers and the due diligence it takes to put those into that formula. And I appreciate that we've already reached out to the auditor and ran it through the auditor as well. So we're being very proactive here. I'm thankful that we were able to keep it to the 99 cents as when we talked to the public back in April. And expenses are going up, and it costs money, but I'm glad 7 cents, we were at least able to hold to our word with that, so.
Yep. Expenses are going up, and when you look at the budget, 70% of that is personnel. And it takes people to take care of our kids, to keep them safe, to educate them, to provide them tutoring, to provide them food. And those people also need to have a wage that they can live on. And so, as we're considering all of this, it's a very large, complex equation. It's not as simple as 7 cents or assessed valuations. There are many, many factors that go into this. And so I appreciate all the hard work that went into the calculations, providing information, and yeah. So. All right. Any other comments? Seeing none, I will accept the motion on the tax recommendations.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Ice to
To set the tax rate at 4.2642.
moved by Mrs. Ice,
Second.
second by Ms. Early. On favor?
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes. Now we will close the tax rate hearing, 7:21. And we will move on to, okay, in front of you, we have the proposed agenda. Do I have any changes to the agenda? And if not, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Grenier, second by Mr. Murphy. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Thies,
Second.
second by Mrs. Early. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Non-action reports.
I just wanted to give a little bit of an update on the bond 2025 that we did pass in April. I know we talked about it a little bit in July, looked at some of the bids, and we did sign the paperwork for Meridian roofing. We're still waiting on a timeline. I was hoping to have that today, but I don't have it. But their timeline was that they could finish in the October-November window, so we can have it done this fall for getting the roof redone at Parkview. And then we're still in the process of, with our architects right now working on the addition at the high school. We've seen some preliminary plans, and then they've been working with a gentleman who does a lot of the ground source, and he's actually worked on our system before. We're trying to figure out exactly where the ground source was located. We had to figure out how, one, where it was located, and two, how it was all linked together, so that we can figure out the best format for the building. So we've got a preliminary plan, but I think it's probably going to change a little bit. We're trying to extend that building a little bit further so we can stay out of the well field. Their plan is to have bids ready to go for our November board meeting. We'll have that bid meeting before that so that we can vote on a contractor, which if we get November, then I'd say time they get all their stuff done, we probably could be moving dirt in January. But that's still gonna be August of 2027 before we would open up that section, so.
When you are creating these plans, are you meeting with teachers and are you having like?
We did meet with teachers at the very end of the year last year. Is that the last day, Mr. Erdman?
Yeah.
Okay, so last day of school, we had teachers come in, kind of talk about like, hey, I'd like to have cabinetry, I'd like to have, this, I'd like to have, these spaces, whatever it may be. We did do that at the end of last year. As we get more detailed, we really did a lot when we were dealing with the ag and the science and the theaters. Here it's more general classrooms, but we are trying to gather input as best we can, so, yeah. Now, the recent plans I've showed, I don't even think Mr. Urban's seen those yet, so those have been sitting there on my desk, and like I said, we've kind of played with those already, and they're probably about ready to go to the trash can and new plans, so, yeah. But I just wanted to give an update on where we're at as far as our progress, so.
I have a question. So as
Yeah.
far as the bond, at our last meeting, we approved to choose a roofing bid
Yes.
to a certain dollar amount. Can we explain that the roofing bid that you talked with the architect?
Yes, we did have two very low bids, and so I did have the architect, he called around, made sure that the manufacturer of the roofing product that we were selling, that they had the right specs, that they had the right quantity, that they had the right, everything else, and he guaranteed that they did, that they had ordered the same amount, everything as everybody else. And then they went around, our architect went around and called other job sites and other people to make sure that, either one of those two low bid companies would be able to do the job, because they were pretty dramatic
Yeah.
in difference. So, and he feels confident that yes, we're getting a good roof.
Yeah.
So,
And especially to our, what our estimate was prior to that. Off of
Yeah.
Our architect, what we thought we would spend, I mean,
Mhm.
this is substantial, so.
yes.
So, yeah, it's nice to hear that.
I think probably many of us received a letter from LJ Hart that did our bond offering. And they were able to sell the bonds at a premium, generating $149,371 additional based on the timing of the sale. And we also had 3 local banks, BTC Bank, Bank Northwest, and Union State Bank of Gower, who were able to purchase bonds.
Mhm.
And so we appreciate that local support.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I
so.
agree.
Administrative reports.
Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Just have a couple of things. First of all, last meeting you guys asked about 504s and IEPs and how many kiddos we thought would have phones, smartwatches. We reviewed all of those and we are at 5 total. A lot of our families, it mostly affects, not everybody, but a lot of our students that have, that are diabetics have a Dexcom that they can use instead of an iPhone, and a lot of our families said, nope, they can just use their Dexcom. They can use their iPhone, but we'll just use that to monitor. So families were very, very supportive about not having the cell phones in school. So 5, I don't have them split up between the iPhones and the watches, but 5 total, district-wide, so pretty good. Celebration. We got MAP scores back and CIS scores were all on track for special education, which is huge for us. So I was pretty excited about that. All of our other scores were pretty good for us as well. Like I said, for special education, approaching in all areas, which is, we did not have any in the lower region, which is big time for special education. So kudos to the teachers for that. And then the last thing I want to say, we had a lot of PD before school started. Our special education teachers come in ahead of time so we can make sure we have any trainings completed before school starts. So we had a plethora of trainings. But one of the big ones I wanted to highlight was our technology conference that we put on here, that Felicia Lim helped run. They actually had an afternoon session that was devoted to special education, and they had multiple sessions. Which I thought was absolutely great. We had a lot of our special education staff come in for that day and get to learn about AI, how to use it, how to benefit the students, some ways that the students could be more independent and the teacher didn't have to be right there on top, like monitoring verbatim every little thing that the kiddo said, which is huge. Our kids want to be as integrated as possible, so that was really great. And then also what to watch for and how to use it as a tool and not a crutch, because I know that's a concern that kids will start using AI and they'll never learn the skills that they should. And so that was kind of a focus, which was really great. And we had, the other school districts. It was a lot of good conversation. There was a round table at the very end, and so we had all of the special education teachers that attended from Midbuck and Lawson and Cameron all sitting around together coming up with ideas and what do you use, what do I use, and it was a great conversation. So I appreciate the fact that they threw in some special education into that. Actually, our keynote speaker also used a special education example. It wasn't allergies. I was really crying in that one as they showed us for those of you that were there. So it was kind of nice that they threw in that. So it was great first day. Tired, but I think I said it last year that it was the smoothest first day, and then this one outdid it. So it was very smooth. It was great. Kiddos were super excited to be back, which was always a good thing. So
And fully staffed.
fully staffed, yes, that's always a big
That's
thing.
awesome.
Yeah, that's always a big thing. Especially we had a couple last minute changes. Some students with needs came in and exited, and so we were able to still be fully staffed, which is huge. So thank you guys for that support.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Elementary, Parkview.
Good evening.
Welcome.
I just want to say how fantastic it feels to be back. We had a huge turnout at open house, 96%. I think 60 of them were former students with children now, so that was really awesome. It was like a little reunion, so that was wonderful. I also wanted to give a huge shout out just to the teachers, the staff, transportation department. Today did really go very smoothly. And really big shout out to our parents who, when it was time to go this morning, they went. And it was great. Only one dad was crying. It truly was awesome. So we had a really great experience today at Parkview. So we've been working on some of our goals for the year. We're going to kind of stick with some of the same positive behavior support, and also reducing those discipline occurrences and improving attendance. So, which we did smash both of those goals last year. So I just feel great to be here. Any questions for me?
We're thrilled you're here, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be here. Thanks.
Thanks.
Any questions? All right.
Okay, CIS.
Hello, good evening. Dr. Ormsby does a lot of great work with our data, and she's going to be sharing some information later, but I do not want to miss the opportunity to send a shout out to our CIS teachers. We were above state average in every tested area and every content last year, as well as in every tested area, every content had higher proficiency level than the year before. So the work they're doing is paying off, the work our kids are doing is paying off, and that test is brutal. I talked to you guys a little bit about that last year. It's not an easy test to take. It's long, it takes a lot of stamina, a lot of endurance, and we still have littles in the building. So I'm super proud of my staff and teachers for what they were able to accomplish. Tonight I'm really just going to celebrate people. Our leadership team came in on a non-contracted day before school started, spent all day with myself and Mrs. Kemper, and we went through plans for the year, we went through goal setting. One of our goals this year specifically is on student clarity of what they're learning, and we've made great gains in what that's going to look like this year, so I'm excited for the students about that. But just for them to come in voluntarily, they do it all summer, right? And so then when I call a day, I feel a little bit guilty about it because that's their time, not my time for them. And they all come in happy to be there, so, and make great decisions for our building. Maintenance and the custodial staff, they sometimes get overlooked based on what they do is a little bit behind the scenes. They work incredibly hard all summer, as they always do. Their work is vital to our facilities and the functionality and how we process things. And Miss Nancy and Miss Leah and Mr. Devin are just phenomenal. Mr. Mackey's done a great job with maintenance, and we're just very, very happy to have such quality people on board. Food service and transportation departments went above and beyond today. When you hear we had school with day one that was flawless, that is absolutely true. But it takes everybody, right? It takes absolutely everybody, from the board to the superintendents to staff, faculty. It is in everybody business. It's in our kids' community, and it takes us all. So food service and transportation was flawless today, and I'm appreciative of that. We had buses out of my circle drive by about 3:10, and we dismissed a little bit before 3, middle school, high school at 3. When you're loading my almost 400 students plus all middle school, high school on the right buses, that's pretty impressive. So very, very pleased with how that went. And then teachers and staff, and I do get a little emotional about this. You guys should be so incredibly proud of that group that is working for your kids all day, every day. Our teachers are top notch. All of our staff are top notch, from office to custodial to paraprofessionals. There is not a system that is not working anywhere, probably in the district. I know in my building, and I am just honored to work with them each and every day. It's a blessing. So thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me on board report? No, thank you. Have a blessed night.
Middle school.
I don't want to repeat everything that everybody else said. I don't know if Jason's got anything to talk about, because I mean, literally everything everybody else said is so true. I mean, just everything today, flawless and smooth. I wanted to have a shout out specifically to Mrs. Barlow, who does our morning announcements on our YouTube channel. They were up day one. I didn't even know that was happening. They were up day one, and a couple of the kids said something that stood out to me. It said, because I'm new in my position and Miss Lim's new in her position, but they both called us new but not new. This is my 11th year here. Felicia's more than that. And so that was really special that we're starting together in new roles, but we've been here a long time. And so lunch is always a big deal. The first day, we didn't have to delay any lunches. I always tell the teachers, wait till we call you. And I called and said, we're ready on time. Same with the buses. I got on the intercom and I'm sure they were like, oh, we have to, oh, no, hey, they're on time. So that was all just great. Give it all up to the teachers and everything everybody else said. Cell phones today, I had several kids come in asking about it before they even really came in the building. Had one single issue today from a student that was new to our district. And that was it all day long. So that was well received. Seems like the kids took it seriously. So that was really, really good. A couple things that I've really been chomping at the bit to share and really just kind of brag on. The first one is the enrollment and registration, where it's really, really difficult, especially those parents who have students in the district. Like, why do I have to do something every year? Well, it is required that we update that stuff. CVMS is 100%. We're done. Every single. We had one kiddo that we're pretty sure isn't coming back to the district, hasn't completely withdrawn yet, but we are 100% done. Miss Crowley and Miss Swink have been working tirelessly on the phone to get that done. And as of like about 2 o'clock today, we're done. So that was a huge shout. And then I also want to brag, it wasn't quite where Parkview was. On open house night, we have all the kids' schedules printed and in the wings, so we know exactly the number of people we had. We had 285 families. That's 88%. That is unheard of in a middle school. And so I'm so proud. I mean, as Gina getting the word out, and just there's some excitement this year. People are ready to be back. The community's engaged, and I just wanted to end with that because, I mean, literally the whole time. I think Mary Crawford made a comment to somebody at CIS that like we were just higher, maybe going to be higher than them, which again is unheard of. So could not have asked for a better start, especially in a new position. All the teachers are making my job easier. So super excited.
Right. Well, we've been in the district for a while, and those forms are difficult.
They're cumbersome.
And if you're doing multiple children online,
yeah.
I mean, so when we went to open house and we picked up our daughter's schedule, it had a note on there that said, you'll see the counselor.
Exactly,
and
yes.
I was like,
that was phenomenal.
It's like, what did you do already?
Yeah.
No, but it's like I missed like, can she be photographed or can something like that? And so that was amazing.
I know that afternoon, Miss Crowley and Miss Lim sat down and attached all those notes. I think maybe Miss McKinley helped, and that was huge too. That way we caught, and again, we'd have 88% of your parents show up. You're going to catch most all of that. So it was phenomenal. So very, very proud. So any questions?
What I hear is you're ready to learn.
Yes, for sure, 100%. We ask our teachers to spend some time talking about expectations and procedures and stuff, which they are doing. I saw teachers out in the hall practicing things, but we're ready to go. So we're excited.
That's good.
Pretty awesome.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, high school.
Good evening. I sound like a broken record to everybody else, but we had a great first day at the high school. Obviously, we were anticipating the cell phone, I guess not cell phone, technology policy that we had to update. The kids took that with a grain of salt. There was no bickering, complaining. They did a phenomenal job with that. And actually, I made the comment to a couple people in the lunchroom, a couple staff members, and I said, lunch is louder now. Because they could still have it last year during transition time and lunchtime. And the lunchroom was louder, hallways were louder, and a good louder. Laughter, conversation. So having a policy before helped with that transition. But I want to give the teachers, they did a good job. Obviously, we're going to offer some grace. It's going to be a transition. But to my knowledge, knock on wood, we didn't have any issues of kids having their phones out today. So kudos to our teachers on that, and kudos to our kids on kind of rolling with the punches and knowing that, hey, this is not just Cameron, it's the state of Missouri. And so they just took it and ran with it. Like, okay, if everyone else is doing it, why not? So we met with our classes this morning, met with seniors and juniors. and things that were geared more towards them. And then obviously our freshmen and sophomores we met with shortly after, just going over building procedures. Mrs. Webb talked more to seniors and juniors about what does that look like as far as her role with the college and career readiness. And so Dr. Lanigan spoke briefly, Matt Wink on the activity side. So those meetings went real well. Did want to highlight a few of our goals that we're going to work on this year at the high school, and I have linked my building improvement plan, not mine, the buildings, in there. Obviously we're going to focus on assessment data and making goals based off that. Our second goal is attendance, and I'm proud to say we met that goal last year, and we're going to keep trucking along and hopefully do better this year. You know, I think we were 91 and some change last year, so want to improve in that area because you can always get better. And then our last focus is our college and career readiness, making sure every kid, 100% of our kids, graduate with a post-secondary plan, and that's where Mrs. Webb, and we're grateful that we have that position where she slides right in and takes care of a bulk of that. So excited to get going with those goals, and teachers are excited, departments are excited. It's been a good 2 weeks having them back. So, and obviously having the kids back today helped. Any questions?
Are you gonna change anything about attendance, or did you learn anything last year that you're gonna implement new this year, or you're just gonna, I know you finished strong, so I just was.
Yeah, one thing we want to do, we've talked about as an administrative team, doing a better job, and they're kids that meet that goal, but acknowledging those 100% kids at the end of the year. We've even talked about doing that even quarterly. Obviously we do something for all of our kids that are 90 above, and then even 95% above, we give them a little extra, but we have discussed doing something. And again, those are kids that are there, but just those constant communications with parents was a big influence last year. So
this seems like a good time to announce something that we're going to do at the first football game. So the district is going to recognize our perfect attendance students from last year at halftime of the first football game and give Dragon Awards. So we agree, it's very important, it's worthy of recognition, and so we want the community to celebrate that as well. And so those students and their families will receive an invitation, including the seniors who graduated, who might or might not want to come back and do that, or be able to, but we would like to also support that effort, so.
absolutely.
You posted, or the high school shared something yesterday, today, about a T-Mobile Friday Night Lights program. Can you share what that is and how we as a board and how we as a community can support that?
So with that, T-Mobile does this deal, and I don't have the price breakdowns, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but basically a school district, they do weekly prizes, weekly monetary prizes. By doing this, in a nutshell, you had to explain, your why on what you would use that money for. And obviously with it being football, track related, it would be something to our facility there. That's what it's geared towards. And it could be scoreboard, lighting, field maintenance, the track, seating, anything of that nature. I just check marked everything, because I thought if we can throw a dart and hit something, we'll do it. The biggest thing is just the community. If you're on social media, on that post, there's hashtags. Explain, retweet that, repost it. We don't have Twitter anymore, I believe. Is that correct? So if you're on Instagram or Facebook, reshare that. And then if you kind of give just a quick shout out why you think, or go Cameron, or just something, and then put those hashtags in, that helps.
Do you think we could provide the community with some guidelines on that more that we could post that we can share?
Yeah. Okay. They provide that. It's just as simple. I can copy and paste it, and yep. Yeah.
I like how you said kids were socializing today.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that whenever we first started talking about our own cell phone policy before the state stepped in, that's kind of where we were looking to go.
Yeah.
We want kids to be kids and put the devices down and learn how to interact with one another.
We took a big step as a district. This is my 4th year at high school. 3 years ago, when we started just during instructional time, and we still saw it in the hallway where you're walking down the hallway and you're doing this.
Yeah.
Now today, I checked in with teachers after school, and they absolutely loved it. So this is the first time where they've heard that noise in the hallways in quite some time.
So
Lunchroom is the same way.
Is the Do you anticipate an increase in calls to the office to get in touch with students? Do we have a plan for handling that?
We've put another phone in the office,
Okay.
or we're in the process of doing that. I don't know, I didn't check today. I was hardly in the office today. I was out and about. But I know Maggie was working on getting us an extra phone, and we have a spare at the high school that's in our conference room that we were just gonna move over. That way, if a kid needs to make a phone call, they could, instead of disrupting what she's doing, she can just give them a nod because she's on the phone constantly and doing about 1,000 other things if you've ever been in the high school office. And so they can go over and make that phone call.
Great.
Actually had a young man today that came to me and said, can I go in the office and use my cell phone to get a hold of my mom? This is at 2:30. And for this young man to do that was a big step on him just communicating, I need to figure out what I'm doing after school. I don't know if I'm supposed to ride the bus or is my mom picking me up? I said, yeah, absolutely. And I praised him for that. Like, we're still gonna allow a kid to do that. Because at the time Maggie was tied up, so, yep.
That's good. That's good. That's what
Yeah.
the policy's there for, so.
Yeah, no, I'm very proud of our kids today. Not just for that, just their school spirit. They're excited to be back.
And we're gonna touch on that technology policy here in just a few minutes. But, just communicate to your teachers that we're behind you.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, appreciate that.
Appreciate that, and consistent enforcement's important, and teachers taking that seriously when you're supervising kids, it's important. If you have a reason to have your phone in your pocket because you got something going on, that's fine, but, the kids
Yeah.
watch us, so we
Yeah.
appreciate all the teachers modeling that too.
Yeah, and we talked to them, said just be transparent with them. You let them know. If you're, we're all at the age where our parents are older and they're in the hospital or you're taking care of them and you're maybe waiting on a phone call, that's life. So but just talk to your kids about that, so.
Regarding high school activities, so last Friday, we did all of the fall sports pictures with Wagner, and we got them back today already, which was very cool. How many more years do we have left on our Wagner contract, do you know?
I can't remember if this is the third or fourth. We had a 5-year deal with Wagner, so.
I think this would be because we've had them every year I've been at the high school, and this is year 4 for me. So this would be year 4 with them.
Yeah, I think so too. I was just curious. I always get asked that. Not so much with the fall pictures, the sports pictures, but when the other class pictures come around.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Okay. We're on to future agenda items. This is
Oh,
where.
no, we got one more.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Orange. I crossed you off before you came up.
You're not used to me going ahead. All right. Well, I think they pretty much summed all of that up adequately. It was a great day. We had just a wonderful transition with all of our new admin and new positions. Want to praise them for the great job that they did. The only entity I can think of that wasn't mentioned was our central office ladies. Mrs. Rucker mentioned, there are people that do a lot behind the scenes, and being over here, I see that with a whole new lens, and I just want to acknowledge the work that they do to get us ready for the school year as well. I wanted to go a little deeper on the MAP data that you received, talking about the MAP Performance Index. I know during the board retreat in July, I talked about how our academic achievement status is a measure of academic performance at a given point in time, and that our students are assigned a performance level index score based on their performance on tests administered as part of the MAP, which would be the GLAs and EOCs. Student performance index level scores are used to calculate the MAP performance index, which I included in the board report. Those are on a continuum. They're a composite number that represents overall performance for all students in a given cohort. I wanted to bring attention to, it's kind of in a different place on each one of those attachments, but in the first building, CIS, and Mrs. Rucker mentioned how great a job that her teachers did, but every single one of the assessments given are in the green and the blue, meaning that they are on track or target. So we take the scores, are below basic, proficient, and advanced. They're put on a continuum, and then this is the state's score for us, that MPI. So kudos to CIS. We'll move on to middle school. where we have a mixture of GLAs in ELA and math, and then we have science as well, and then we also take the Algebra 1 EOC for some of our 8th graders that are enrolled in that course. And the majority of our courses were on track. We had 1 course that was target and 2 that are approaching. The principals are working with their teachers to address that. We're looking at our curriculum and making a plan for how we can improve that next year. And then lastly, we have high school, who had 3 courses that were on track, 2 that were target, and 1 approaching with our EOCs. So overall, that is a big improvement from the previous year. It shows that in the eyes of the state, we're doing a good job. We are where we need to be. Of course, there's always room for improvement, and we are always seeking to reach higher goals all the time. That's part of being a PLC school. You're setting goals, you're tracking your progress, and you celebrate whenever you reach those goals. If you don't reach those goals, you regroup, you come up with a plan, and you keep on the attack. So I just wanted to share that with you and see if you had any additional questions about that before I moved on. Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the trauma-informed section. I was so ecstatic to hear from Crystal Young. She recently graduated from the University of Montana, actually this month, and got her master's degree in social work, and she applied for a grant through the RCORP, which is funding free telehealth therapy, not just for our students, but also for our staff and our parents.
Wow.
That is such an amazing asset to have for our district. She'll facilitate those sessions, but the therapist will be on a laptop, and then she'll be there with the child. Clearly, if it's an adult, she won't sit in, but with the children, and they'll be able to do that at school, which is such a breakthrough for us. We do have some entities that are able to come in, but it's really challenging for a lot of our families to be able to get their children the help that they need, not only because of insurance and just the massive costs that are associated with that, but just getting off work. It's impossible to do sometimes, to be able to get your kid the help that you need during the day, because they have to be at school and you have to pay the bills. So really excited about that, and I think that's going to be something that we will all gain from. Did you have any other questions about anything that was in my report? Okay, it was a great first day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Robinson, how many of our teachers, like we were talking about at the convocation that we have the stage was full of Dragon alumni or Cameron alumni that are now back teaching. Do you remember how many that is? I think that's such a powerful.
I don't know. I mean, there is a lot of staff when you count, cooks, paraprofessionals, teachers, everybody. I mean, I'd have to think that 20 to 30% of our staff at least is a graduate of Cameron. So there's a lot of people up on that stage when we do that. So
It's just very impressive. I just was curious.
yeah.
Okay. Now, we'll move on to patron agenda items. We have one individual who's requested to be on the agenda. Mr. Landi, please come forward and introduce yourself for the record. And when you're a resident of the district, please confine your remarks to the specific item that you noticed. And any remarks about specific personnel or specific students should be addressed during a closed session. We ask the audience be respectful of Mr. Landi during his time to speak to us.
Yep, Dan Landi, I'm a resident of the district. Another prayer time, folks. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Thank you. The devil hates prayer. Tonight I'm here to talk about school curriculum, but I really want to thank the board for the cell phone thing. We talked about it a long time ago, and I'm glad you finally did it. My criticism is that it's a damn shame that it took state law to force y'all to do it, but that's another story. School curriculum, that's what we're talking about tonight.
Mr. Landi, ask you, we put the curriculum up, could you tell us where, so we could put it up there and everyone could see what you're gonna talk about?
School curriculum,
Yep, which part of it?
in general, off of my notes. It's not from that, it's my notes.
Okay,
Am I okay? Can I get my like 20 seconds back, please?
okay.
Thank you. Okay, the vision of the Cameron School District is to offer exceptional educational experience. The mission of the Cameron School District is to educate and empower students to reach their full potential. This is, the board president always announces that at every board meeting. It's on the agenda, it's on the school's district's website. It's important. My question is, how is the curriculum supporting education? School policy I-181-P states in part, it is the goal of the Board of Education to provide circulating material, reference resources, and electronic media to meet or supplement the needs of the students and the teachers in the school system. The district shall strive to meet the school media standards as prescribed by the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. The district librarians, teachers, and administrators have the responsibility of recommending and selecting materials for the district in accordance with state and district guidelines. To summarize, the librarians, teachers, and administrators recommend and select the material. The board approves it and sees that it's purchased. This paragraph, though, almost makes it seem like the board is
Mr. Landi, are you talking about curriculum or are you talking about a policy you didn't notice?
it's all related. It's all related.
Well, that's a policy that you noticed curriculum and we pulled
Yes.
up. Our curriculum's online. It's by
Well, my question is,
by
who's in
grade.
charge of the curriculum? Right, by that paragraph, it makes it sound like y'all are kicking the football over to Desi, saying that it's Desi's job for curriculum. On Desi's website, it talks about curriculum, and it starts off with curriculum decisions along with the textbook selections, instructional approaches, and teaching strategies are all choices made by your local school system. That's what Desi said. They kick it back down to the school level. It's up to every school level to adopt their own curriculum. Our responsibility, according to Desi, is to support your local school agencies with requested information and resources, to provide in-service training for their professional staff, and to assist as they align their locally written curriculum to these standards. So the bottom line is, it is your responsibility as the school board, as administrators. So with that being said, let's talk about ways to improve academic achievement through curriculum, right? All related. I've got several questions. First question, how does pornographic, violent, and immoral content support the curriculum?
We're talking about curriculum.
How do they support the curriculum?
We have approved the curriculum. It is up there.
How does it support
Tell us where in the
Ma'am.
curriculum you're talking about.
Ma'am, why are you trying to restrict my First Amendment?
Because you're not staying on topic.
You are restricting my
I'm
First
warning you,
Amendment.
if you go off topic, your time is over.
What are the
talking about
learning
curriculum.
objectives for such content? Does the material directly support Missouri learning standards? Are there alternative materials that could achieve the same
Mr.
learning
Landi?
goals? Is the content
Landi,
developmentally
please sit
suitable
down. You
for
are
the
done.
intended grade levels?
Mr. Landi?
I
I'm
get my
asking
time
you-
back. You
Mr. Landi, you're
interrupted.
not talking about
Does
curriculum.
it match the cognitive and emotional
Landi,
maturity of the
I'm
students?
asking you to stop. You are not talking about curriculum.
Come
Ask me
on.
to ask you to sit down.
First Amendment.
They
Don't-
asked
We
me to
don't
ask you
have
to sit
we don't
down.
have a First Amendment
I'm
anymore.
gonna ask you one more time.
Or else what?
You and I are gonna go outside.
And then what? Oh
You
shit.
gonna sit down?
Versus get arrested?
Is that what you want?
No, is that, but if that's what you're gonna do, I got no choice.
Mr. Landi, please
You
sit
want him
down.
gone.
I would like him to sit down because he has not been talking about curriculum. You've been talking about other
You're trying to
policies.
distract me and
I'm not.
you're,
I'm trying to keep you on the topic you know.
no, you're trying to restrict my
No,
speech.
I'm not. I'm trying to, we have to notice the topics that we're gonna talk about. The curriculum is up there. In the curriculum, which is online, you're not talking about that. You're talking about other things.
Of course, all this is related.
Please have a seat.
What? Mr. Palmer, I respect your authority, right? But this is wrong and you know it. You shouldn't stand there as a peace officer,
Mr.
as a
Landi,
sworn
have
officer,
these seats.
and allow
Ask you to
somebody
sit down.
to,
Please sit down.
to,
Please sit down.
Mr. Landi, we gave you the opportunity to talk about curriculum. We posted the curriculum. We spent many hours posting the curriculum so everybody has the opportunity to see what that is. And if you're willing to talk about anything that is in the curriculum, then we've given you your time. We just ask you to stay on topic because you requested to speak about curriculum. And curriculum is, we have this posted. So where does that fall in with what you're talking about? That's my question.
I'm in the process of explaining it, but you don't want to hear it.
We've asked you to stay on topic.
Okay.
You're not deviating off the topic?
Books aren't curriculum?
Yeah, English books aren't curriculum, I don't get that.
We haven't even gotten to the transgender magazine that Ms. Tickett had in her classroom. And that's part of curriculum. She had it. She even said that. She used it to
Mr.
teach
Landy,
us.
please sit down.
Okay, okay. You're welcome. But I want it for the record, my First Amendment rights have been suppressed in this meeting. Thank you.
All right.
Books matter.
Items for consideration, moving on. Lunch and breakfast prices.
Yeah, the price I put in there, or the document I put in there, again, that's from DESI. That's how we figure out what we need to charge based on losses, possible increases. If we would have an increase, it shows all of our lunch counts. And if you look at the, I guess it'd be, let me see, sure. It'd be the top one, I'm sorry, is last year's rates of what they were for lunch. Breakfast, we can set our own rates, whatever we need to be able to set to cover our costs. But lunch, there's a formula involved that we have to do to figure that. We have to go at least 10 cents. The objective is that there's an average weighted price, which you see over there, the $2.62. We have to get that to what the state, well, currently, actually the federal level, which is actually $4. So we have to always continue to work towards that level. And that's why every year we have to do at least a 10-cent increase. This year we did a larger than 10-cent increase. High school increased from $2.75 to $3.15. The middle school increased from $2.75 to $3.05. And then our middle school increased from $2.45 to $2.75 on both of those for our lunches. And then we had it should be like a 25-cent or 30-cent, I can't remember which, 25-cent increase on breakfast across the board except for staff. Staff, we get no reimbursement on whatsoever from staff, and so we have to be able to try to cover our costs on those. So, and as we're going to show when we get to the budget part, look at the summary, even with some of this, we're still not able to keep up with the increased cost, and a lot of days we are losing money on meals because we just, by the time we feed what we have to feed and the cost of it, we're still losing money on some days with meals. So.
Any questions on the lunch and breakfast prices?
I mean, is there ever a way to curb this cost?
Not right now. It used to be, yeah, you could do quite a bit more, but lunches or even milks are 35 cents a milk now, and not that long ago you were paying 15, 16 cents, and now you're already paying 20 cents extra on a thing of milk. And like I said, again, when you start adding in and looking where we're at food service wise, part of that is increased labor cost. Now that's increased insurance, that's increased what we're having to pay for labor. And then the last couple of years, we've been hit really hard on increased food costs. Our commodities this year have been cut from about 85 to 90,000 to only 50,000. That's the way that we usually get reduced food from, the government cheese effectively. But you get those reduced prices for some of those items. Well, now we only get a chance to buy $55,000 worth instead of 90. So that has an impact on those numbers. And then even on commodities, we used to get those for free. Those were shipped through Kohl's, but they were shipped for free. And now it's going to be charged $2 or $3 a box for every delivery. So even that is now an added cost on our food service. So it is, and I totally understand. And I know people, paychecks are tough right now, and I don't like having increases, but we can't also continue to lose. We can't continue to lose money because we're never not going to feed a kid.
Right.
We've never not fed a kid. So if a kid wants to eat, we're going to feed them. So.
And how many thousands of dollars do you think go in unpaid lunch?
Oh, I'd say we're probably, I'd say we're at least $50,000 probably of unpaid debt. And a lot of that was from the COVID time when we had, the government was pretty much free breakfast, free lunch, didn't matter who it was. And when we tried to come back from that, getting people to fill out the paperwork, getting people to pay those bills, that was really tough. And so we've been carrying a pretty good debt right now in our food service that we've been carrying over every year. You know, we can collect some of that when they leave high school maybe, if they have some of that debt, but for the most part, we're not gonna collect most of that debt.
I've heard of other communities that that open that up to like, well, the community or the.
Yeah. And we've had different things like that. We've had donations from the prison out here where they have to do work and they've donated. We've had sororities in town donate money. We've had individuals who may have left money, you know, through the passing of somebody that left money to the school. We've done that. We've had people just make donations at Christmas time and donate money to help cover some of those debts. So we have a pretty good community as far as that, but that's a lot of money to make up, so.
What is the total cost of food service? Do you know, I mean, that's,
Oh.
putting you really on the spot on that one, but.
I can show you when we get
If we had to
down
feed
to-
every kid 2 meals a day,
I mean, we're gonna.
what does this cost? I mean,
let me
you know,
see.
I had somebody approach me about this and it's a crazy far-fetched
It's
idea.
on it's on that sheet that, on my board report.
Is it?
It's
I know,
linked.
I've got it here too. Let me get down
I mean,
here.
I think if there's one thing this town could support is every one of our kids make sure they had 2 meals every single day, right? I mean, you know, we ask for a lot, but you know, you mentioned it earlier, Heath, I'll put you on the, kind of bring up what you mentioned. Everybody's costs are rising. But I mean, I think that everybody could feel pretty good if we knew that every kid that came in this building had a breakfast and a lunch.
Absolutely.
And it was provided by our community, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
I think that that's something that we can all get behind. If, I don't know how we're ever gonna make it work, but I mean, if that's something that we could work on,
Yeah.
then.
Right now, I've budgeted that we'll spend around $900,000, $899 and some change. So almost $900,000 is what we'll spend on just providing lunches. And if I look at what we will get back based on other years, you're gonna get back you're only gonna get about 862,000. So every year you lose 34,000 and it's hard to get out of the hole, so.
I know. You know, if we just come up with a way to get creative, then I think that is something that, you know, we could be a little shining spotlight here that we somehow found a way to feed all of our kids where nobody was going.
Like I said, we
hungry.
never had this problem until COVID, and we've just seen the increase. And until then, we ran the black, and we didn't run, you know, a great deal, but we tried to keep a $30,000-$40,000 budget so that we could, if we had a stove go down, we had to pick up an oven, we had to do something, we had to pick up a freezer or replace stuff. We weren't having to take it out of general funds, and right now we're almost supplementing general funds to do that, so.
Did we see an increase in people filling out the free and reduced school
We
lunch?
did. Last year, we saw a big increase. We hope we'll have another increase this year. That helps a lot. It helps families if they fill that out, fill those forms out. Like I said, they can get either possibly a free or reduced meal. The standard for that is raised. So more families hopefully will be available to use that.
Are we communicating that or helping?
We do.
parents, or-
We have a lot of different ways. We kind of came up with a protocol last year where if we have kiddos that are starting to get behind, that we have, you know, food service sends a letter, food service makes a call, principals start making a call. We start having social workers call parents, asking if they need help and assistance in filling out the free and reduced forms so that we can get those kiddos, you know, at least collect something, so.
And you know, those families that, you know, were struggling last year, you're trying to help them this year
Yes.
even right at
Yes,
the
because
beginning?
we have about a 30-day window when they start school, so if they were already on those last year, we have about 30 days to try to catch those kiddos if their parents haven't filled out something or whatever. so that we can make those phone calls, because they give you 30 days from the start of school, calendar days, so we get till, roughly mid-September, into September, that we can try to get those kiddos signed up and ready to go. And then, if circumstances change with families and, somebody may lose a job, and then, I feel free to contact the school, contact our social worker, because then we can then put you on, based on your current income, we can then, put you on free and reduced meals and help you and, your family out, so.
Yeah. And I hope that, I'm guessing all this is done behind the scenes. I mean, they're, it's not the kid's fault, so,
No.
That's,
No, I would agree.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's something that we can have a discussion on. Try to find some ways. I mean, I know that nothing, that'd be great if we could ever find a way to do something like that, just,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
There's a lot
possible,
of different conversations every year, but there was a little bit of worry with some of the cuts earlier this year, the USDA, but with the Department of Education, they were, kind of making a lot of cuts at the U.S. Department of Education, but actually the school meals program comes from the U.S. Department of Agricultural. It's not from the U.S. Department of Ed, it's out of the Agriculture Department, so.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, there's not been any cuts to this area for that, so.
I think that's something we just need to keep our eyes on. That's something so important to every single kid walking in our buildings, if they can have the nourishment, that way they can build their day off of that.
I think the studies will show that if your physical needs are not met, you're not going to be able to learn. Right?
Maslow's hierarchy.
Right, yeah. Right. Do I have a motion to approve the breakfast and lunch prices? So moved. Moved by Mrs. Early. Second by Mr. Murphy. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Fuel bids.
Yes, you can see the different bids we had on there. We had a bid from MFA and Co-op. We had an issue last month where not proper dates and not proper times, so we ended up having to rescind those, and so that's why we're doing this again this month. Both did use the base price as of July 16th. We actually went backwards. That way there was no ability to manipulate a number going forward. So we used a number that was already behind us when we sent these back out. And so if you look at the fuel cost bid, you can look at unleaded gasoline on that same day and how the base price was figured and then what their price is. So effectively, the co-op is adding about a 14-cent increase per gallon of gas. And if you look at the next one, MFA, their base price is their base price, but what I will tell you is that does not look like it includes the tax. So, because if you had the 29 cents that schools do have to pay on taxes, we don't pay every tax on that, but we do have to pay 29 cents still. If you make that 233 and then you take the difference in those, it's an increase of more than 14 cents with the MFA. So my recommendation is to go ahead and go with the co-op bid. The bid proposal for the escalating price is what I would recommend.
Move that we accept the co-op bid. Motion to accept the co-op bid. Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Murphy. Any further discussion? All right. All in favor, raise your right hand. Mr. Grenier abstains. Okay. Motion passes. Okay.
Mrs. Lockridge,
Yes.
do you need to rescind the vote from last month?
Probably wouldn't be a bad idea.
Okay. Motion to rescind the vote from last time. Do I have a motion to rescind the vote from last time? So moved. Moved by Mrs. Ice. Second by Mr. Murphy. On favor, raise your hand. Okay. So we rescinded.
Mr.
And
Grenier
Mr. Grenier
abstained this time
abstained.
too?
Yes, so we rescind and then the replacement is the second vote. Yep.
Thank you.
Nope, thanks for keeping us on track. Okay, the MVD HHP contract.
Yes, this is a why am I? Try this again. This is a contract through a company in Blue Springs that we do some of our hearing tests with, whether it be different students or testing some of our devices that we use to test for hearing. They do all the technical checks on that. And so we'd like to go ahead and maintain that contract with the multi-district, that part of hearing education contract.
So this is something we already had last year?
Yes, it is.
Any questions on that? Motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Ice. Second. Second by Mrs. Early. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes.
The second one also is an agreement for us to hire a speech language pathologist. It's an agreement with somebody we've already used in the past. They were actually one of our employees before. They've since retired, but they do speech language pathology services still, which we still need. In fact, we're still probably at least a half a person short, if not one person short, going into this year. We're going to have to do some probably online, and that's not the best way to teach speech, just because it's hard to get people. What's one, hard to find speech language pathologists. Two, it's hard to find people that will come up here without having to put a huge price tag on what it's going to cost for mileage and everything else. And then we have to pay for them to do all their paperwork while they're here. And so this is a contract to have a speech language pathologist that we know will be here on a regular basis. So.
And how do you, is that an IEP, or is that like we recognize a problem, we put a child in that program, or how does that work?
Yeah, the students that are on there do have an IEP.
So it's required?
Yes.
For us to provide
yes,
the service?
if they have it in there that they have a speech language service, then yes, we have to provide it. And so that's what makes it a little hard right now, is we're so short on people right now. We have one that went part-time this year, and then one that retired last year, and now we're trying to bring back, the services, but it's difficult. We get to a certain point and we see a lot more with, obviously at the younger ages, we see a lot more of those services. As they get older, we see them transitioning out, or we get to a certain point in time where if you're not saving your hours by the time you're a sophomore or junior, that might just be something you're gonna have to, we've worked with you for a long time, and there does reach a certain point in time when you just have to, the services they're done. So, but we see a lot of those services, especially in our primary buildings. We have usually 2 to 3 speech language pathologists that are set up just at Parkview to catch those kiddos. And we do a good job. We move a lot of kids that have maybe one issue with, some syllable, some sound, whatever it may be. And, we move those kids out by the time they're 2nd, 3rd grade. A lot of research, and tell me if I'm right, Mrs. Ormsby, that, the letter R is not readily, I guess, proficient with most kids until like 8 years old.
It's not considered delayed until they're 8.
What do we do if we have a child who we think is ready to move on, but the parents are thinking, there's gotta be situations where the parents are going, I don't know that we're ready to move out yet. Is there a certain point where it
It
requires
comes down to an IEP decision. That's the IEP team. So that'll be the special ed director, that'll be our process coordinators, that might be some of the teachers that work with that student, that'll be the speech language pathologist, and all of them with the parent will decide, is that in the best interest or not, so.
Move to accept the SLP professional service agreement.
I have a motion to accept the agreement.
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Grenier. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Ethics resolution.
Yes, this is from the Missouri Ethics Committee. This is a resolution we do every year that pretty much is, declares conflict of interest, shares all those different pieces. It then ends up being that when we have to do, I can't think of the right name, but
Financial disclosure.
The financial disclosure. So the financial disclosure piece, usually the board president does and the superintendent does. And then we have to turn those into to the Missouri Ethics Commission. So we get an email usually around December, and we have to fill that out by May and do that. So that pretty much is spelled out in this ethics piece. So.
Do I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Early.
Second.
Second by Mr. Murphy. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes.
All right, on the FY '26 budget, I've got in here pretty much a line-by-line budget. And it actually includes, I went down there a little bit. This actually includes the prior 3 years. And then where we were, as of like the middle of June last year. But it includes the FY '23 budget, the FY '24 budget, and the FY '25 budget that we just finished, and it shows the actual. And then we put in there where those salaries are going to be. So when we put all of our stuff in, it already automatically calculates salaries, benefits. That part's kind of, our computer actually does. It's kind of nice, and it figures all those up. All we have to do is feed it in, like how many hours, as we move paras. That's why some of these change sometimes, and we may have moved a para and we have a higher need at a high school, and so we have paras up there, or we have, because paras are paid out of Fund 10. And if you look all the way over there, you can see Fund 10, and this is almost 28 pages of expenditures that we have. We have a line item for each one of those. And like I said, you can see where we've got our prior years, our current years, and there's always adjustments to budgets. Just like last year, we weren't expecting to have to pay that large assessment. But the health assessment that we had to pay, that ended up having to come out of the budget. That wasn't something we budgeted for. That ended up actually hurting our budget at the end because of that large assessment that we had to pay. Sometimes those are things we just can't foresee, especially when they hadn't done one of those for years and years and years. So we try to do the best job we can at budgeting, but there's going to be areas where we may have to move it because we have we may have a student move in that needs more services, and we have to hire another para, or we have to have now more transportation because we now have a student that has needs, or we have to do something else. So, but you can see the line items of expenditures on there. I did the exact same thing for the budget revenues, and this goes through exactly how we budget all those revenues from all of our codes. So you can see how we budget in our 10 code, our sales tax trust fund. We've got $1.5 million budgeted in there. We've had a slight increase every year, so we're anticipating we'll get another $20,000 and we'll be at 1.5. And other things that were M&M in lieu of city sales tax, we were right around 170. We were down a little at 156. We're going to be conservative and only put $150,000 in there. And you guys, right now, we'd probably be $30,000 again in the hole. So you add that in there, we're about $410,000 that we could be next year. Because by the time we take the revenues at 862, we take it with our balance we already have, and then you take that with expenditures, it's going to be a deep hole to dig out of. Our general fund unrestricted, we might have a slight increase there. Same with our total general, which is that's all these funds added. And so, with what we're going to start with and where we're at, we have our revenue special teachers fund, and we never start off with anything in there, and we always we should end up with zero as well. And so, once we make that transfer of $1.8 million, we should end up at the zero. And then debt service, we're starting off at about $2.3 million, but we are spending some money this summer. And so we're anticipating that we'll have a slight increase in debt service. And then when you look at the capital projects, there's a big increase, but that's also because we just added in $8 million from the other. So when you look at the bottom line, we're going to end up with a total of about $20 million, but we're going to spend all that $8 million in the next year and a half. And really, when you look at the reserves, because I can't pay a teacher out of debt service, I can't pay a teacher out of capital projects, I can only pay a teacher out of, effectively I'm paying them out of Fund 2, but I'm taking the money from Fund 1. And so when you look at that reserve, you look at where we should be next June at 25%, which is, I know where the board wants to be, it's where I want to be. We're a little bit lower than that right now. And but we've made some, I think, cuts to be able to keep us. where we need to be, and 25% with where we're at in the economy right now, I think is a good number. And
Matt, that's taking into account the bond and paying out. Is that 25, you're thinking that's
no, that
still-
25% does not count our bond, because our bond money does not count debt service or capital projects.
Okay,
It only accounts for what you see there between, the Associated Food Service General makes up the total general, which is Fund 1, and teachers is Fund 2. And it's the balance we have in those two categories.
1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Yeah.
They don't count 3 and 4, because you can't spend those monies. I can't spend those monies and pay teachers.
Right.
So we passed a bond issue, I can't take it and give teachers a really good raise because we passed a bond. That's not how bond money works. Bond money works for building projects, so.
On the revenue page where it says like has all the student activities.
Yes.
What goes in, are those fundraisers, are those, when it says like student activity, cheerleaders, choir, DECA, FBLA?
Yeah, let me get to it in a second, because right now my thing is spinning. Oh, there we go. Okay. Not quite. I'm still waiting, I'm sorry.
I'm on like 4 or 5 of this.
Yeah, it should be, is it start with 60 in activities?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it says some of them are from fundraisers, like down further,
Yes.
they're fundraisers,
So,
I was just curious.
so a fundraiser account would be, the cheerleaders are doing mums for homecoming, whatever. So that would go into fundraising, and then they could use that money for, hey, they wanna, they might be for senior gifts. It could be for, they wanna have a, pizza party after the football game, and they wanna have pizzas. So they use some of that fundraising money. So that's where that would be at. And I apologize, I don't know why my computer is stalled at the professional services agreement. And I can't go down.
Mine's been doing that.
So I don't know, I think I'm buffering and I don't know. Oh, okay.
Down to 60.
Oh, wow, I'm gonna take off my glasses here. So which account were you talking about?
Oh, I was just, what's the
Okay.
difference between fundraisers and student
So-
activities?
Yeah, so student activities, so let's say, like you could have, like tennis girls have their own account, okay? So that is items that the school's gonna pay for. So that would be like, hey, they need so many tennis balls. They may need a tennis machine that shoots balls. That may pay for like the tournament, for them to go to a tournament, it might be a $150 entry fee to go to a tournament. So that's gonna come out of what the school pays for out of their account. Now their fundraiser account might be that their whole team decided to do, or their families decided to do t-shirts that said, I'm a tennis mom, or I'm a whatever, and so they took that out of tennis, so it's pretty much a revolving account. And so that account never, that account always stays there. So if they end up with a couple $100 ahead at the end of the year, then that just stays until the next year, where the tennis account that the school's paying for, we've set a budget, we've said you have this much money, and at the end of the year, that's it. So you don't, and so that's the difference between the fundraisers and student activities. And so you're not always gonna have it with everything, like, we have a certain budget for like cheerleading that the school's gonna pay for, but at the same time, if your daughter is cheerleading, you're gonna have to buy your own socks, you're gonna have to buy your own shoes, you're gonna have to buy your own Spanx or whatever it may be. You're gonna have to do all that because as a school, we can't keep an inventory of all those different things. So,
I was just curious what the
Yeah.
difference between those were.
This might be a nice opportunity to recognize our treasurer, Chastity Brownlee, who
She does
she
it.
knows the codes
Yeah.
like the back of her hand, and she
Yeah.
works her way around in the system. And if you ask her for information, she can pull it out really quickly. And she's very responsive, so we appreciate Chastity.
She does a tremendous job. We actually, our audit will actually start Thursday. So they'll be in the office all day Thursday. That's only required every 2 years in Missouri. We've done it every year I've been here. I think it's important to be able to say that the books we have are legit. They're, that here's how we spend our money, here's how we do all that. So, so the auditors will be in on Thursday. They'll usually do a full day, 3 or 4 here on Thursday, then they'll come back in September once we finish some of our FERs, like title, special ed, some of those, and then they'll probably come back, actually they'll probably come back in October, and then I'd like to think every year that we're gonna have our audit report in November, and 9 times out of 10, it's not our fault, it's DESE, because they haven't opened up a report, but the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, it feels like we're doing that in December right up to the line, so.
Further discussion about the budget? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the budget?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Ice.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Early. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Okay, policy F265P. This is the updated technology policy, which was on the agenda last time, so we could have input by the public in between, and now we are ready to discuss the language and take a vote. One thing I would like to highlight in the language is the second, under the header of cell phones and personal electronic devices. I think this is really critical, and what you heard Mr. Erdman talking about is the policy of the district is to prepare students for success in life beyond high school by fostering the development of interpersonal and communication skills. To support this goal, the district encourages in-person interactions among students during times they are under district supervision, whether in the classroom or during extracurricular activities. And it goes on to say technology is important, but it's a supplement. And so, that, for me, that speaks as to what we're trying to accomplish. Any discussion about the policy, the language?
I think that change is hard, right? But with each administrator coming up here and bringing that up to us about how that day one looked, everybody questioned, what is this gonna look like in the high school and other buildings? I think it's a positive whenever we have them come up and they express that, hey, we're glad that this was talked about during the summer and we started today. That's, we're approving the policy, but we're running with the policy today. So.
I appreciate Mr. Erdman's leadership. He took this on 3 years ago. And so we had a no cell phone policy usage during classroom, or it was very limited depending on the needs of that teacher. And so we were very proactive in this. And then the state came in behind us, and now it's statewide. And it's a little tighter than what we had the last 3 years, but I think he had laid the groundwork for our kids to accept it, like you said. So I really appreciate his leadership in doing that.
And I can appreciate concerns around not having that access that we had before to kids. But, there are exceptions that take into account those emergency situations or those medical situations. And so, it's built in to be able to respond when those things arise. So, appreciate all the parents who are supporting this in their homes and helping kids work through it, as well as the teachers, because it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment for sure. So.
I saw a lot more, in almost each of the classrooms that we went into at the open house night, with teachers having like the hanging with the different, yes, something like, sleeves would put their, and there was a lot more of those than there were previous years, so, yeah. I think it's going on.
I'll accept the motion.
Move to accept technology policy F265P.
I have a motion from Mrs. Ice, second by Mr. Grenier. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes.
And the next one is just updating all of our policies to, update it from Dr. Utek to Dr. Ormsby. We made all those changes in the handbook that the board's already approved in July, but any other policies that we had, we wanted to go ahead and just update the name. We're not changing the policy other than the name, so.
Move to accept the updated applicable policies, changing Dr. Utek's name to Dr. Ormsby's.
So I have a motion to update the names where appropriate. Okay. Motion by Mrs. Early, second by Mr. Murphy. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. All right. Any closing comments from the board members?
Just want to thank the administrators, the parents, the students. It was just, what a refreshing evening to hear the positive on the first day of school, and it was super successful, and all that dedication and hard work pays off, and just really looking forward to a good school year. I think just the buzz in the community is exciting for our kids, so thank you.
Yes, it was wonderful. I'm excited to be back in school.
I have one other thing. I want to thank Dr. Robinson too for working so hard on the budget. I know that the expenditures are really going up, and he worked super hard to get that 25% reserve number as a goal, and I appreciate, I know he went through the budget with a fine-tooth comb, trying to find places and things to cut back, but without harming our staff and our students, and just really took a serious look at that. So thank you, Dr. Robinson.
Just an observation at drop-off this morning, I messaged Dr. Robinson and I said, do people know it's the first day of school? Because I just pulled up and dropped my child off and drove off, and there were no lines that I could see. I know Parkview is always a little busier because they need to get out and walk in, but wow, good job, parents. That was a really smooth drop-off. So.
Just invite everybody to the first football game that had the perfect attendance. I think that's neat. I think we're gonna kind of give everybody the, the appreciation that they deserve. I mean, it's a big deal to make it to school every single day during the year. There's a lot of excuses out there, so whatever that number is, I've heard a couple different numbers come out, but I mean, I think it's great. Get them out in front of the community on the Friday Night Lights and kind of give them some recognition for that big accomplishment. So I know that's heavily talked about at the board here about attendance. So I mean, I think that is something that we're heavily involved in, so that is something that we should heavily appreciate when it happens.
All right. Next meeting, we have a meeting on August 28th at 7 p.m. The next regular board meeting is on September 16th. That football game is September the 5th. And if we have enough board members who are able to attend, we'll notice that as a board meeting. Even though that's a social gathering where there will be no board business, we want to make sure that that's noticed appropriately, so we'll make that on the list and get that out. So.
And then we have a regional meeting too, September 24th, I think.
September 24th, regional MSBA meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Maybe Cannon, is that right?
I think so, yes.
Okay. All right. With no further business on the agenda, I adjourn the meeting. Thank you everyone for coming.
Ms. Lockery, regarding the policy for changing policy, working with complaints, have you thought on that?
I haven't had a chance to talk about this.
That's a year.
Have a good evening, Miss Dan.
Thank you very much.
Miss Walker, I owe you an apology. Kelly Walker, I owe you an apology. I did not mean to seem as if I was endorsing cigarette smoking.
Mr. Palmer, how was I disturbing the peace by peacefully having a conversation with somebody? Look it up.
My youngest daughter,
Look it up. You're an educated man. Look it up.
Have a good night.
So
How was that disturbing the peace? By having a consensual conversation with someone. Look it up. I don't want to look it up. I'm asking you. You're the one that said it was disturbing the peace, so I'm trying to understand. Look it up. Well, I know that's right. I'm glad that you admit to it.
Turd would be more like
Fantastic,
it.
Mr. Paul.
You basically talking to a turd.
A turd would be good too. I agree.
He has a silver badge and you have a gold badge. Are you the chief of police, Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Oh,
Well,
he's
no,
the
he's not
chief.
the chief of police. He's
Oh.
the head HMIC.
Okay. I knew there was a difference for the badge. It's all about the awards and the certificates and stuff of that nature.
Right.
And I do think that you haven't answered that yet.
Oh.
You haven't acknowledged that you received that appointment.
Oh, I don't have to do that.
Oh, well.
I think I've answered about 47 questions in the last week, so I'm a busy person. Thank you very much.
Have a good night, Mrs. Prevaricator.
It's just a yes or no answer. All that there.
That's too much to understand.
You guys have something better to do,
Yeah, we do.
like jack each other off or something?
Well, we could, but you know, the thing is.
Are you,
Man,
are you Mr.
You look
Bainham?
perfect for that position.
It takes real purpose.
You would be great for that
I
position.
invite you to try.
Oh, believe me, I would love to.
Calm down, calm down.
Mr. Palmer, I think he might be disturbing the peace.
I think you might be.
You gonna do something about that? And communicating the threat?
Threatening, disturbing the keys.
He was sexually propositioning people.
He was asking me to,
Yeah, he
I'd like to see you try.
Well, no, he was sexually propositioning people.
Yes, he was sexually propositioning.